The Jeremiah Smith hype train is gaining steam with some big news coming out yesterday from spring practice in Columbus. I'm telling you, man, they did not give him that #1 player in the class of 2024 badge for no reason. Dude is a baller, and he has proven it so far. We'll talk about it right now, but first things first, man. Ohio State fans, get dialed in right here. Make sure you're subscribed to this show, The Hard Count, on the On3 YouTube channel. We want you all a part of it. It is a big year ahead of you guys in Columbus. It feels like this is kind of the year where it's all crescendoing together for some exciting things to happen out there at the shoe and in the Big Ten Conference. Regardless, though, we'll talk about all of it. So, again, make sure you subscribe. We appreciate you so much in advance for doing that. So, Jeremiah Smith, 4 practices into his Ohio State career, has lost his black stripe. Now, that sounds like a negative thing. I promise you it's not. What it essentially means if you lose your black stripe as an Ohio State Buckeye is you are then officially recognized as a part of the team. Now, he was obviously already on the roster. That's not what I mean. I mean, when you lose your black stripe, it is like the staff saying, hey, you've done things the right way. You're one of us now. All right, kind of a ceremonial thing. The way that this whole thing started was Urban Meyer wanting to have a way to acclimate new players and freshmen and things of that sorts without doing hazing. He says that's silly, that's dangerous, and all that. So essentially, Jeremiah Smith having his black stripe removed means, one, he's probably making plays on the field. I don't think that's really a big question mark. The other part is, this is probably the more important piece of this, losing your black stripe means you are doing what the coaching staff is asking of you. It means you're doing things the right way. You're operating the right way during lifting. You're operating the right way during practice. You're dialed in and up to their standard to be worthy of the Ohio State Buckeye title. Good news, the madness is here. Need to sneak in those tournament games while at work? Prime Video has you covered. Watch every game live on your phone, on your laptop, or relax and watch at home on Prime Video with a subscription. Prime Video gives you choices to add on channels like Paramount Plus and Max, both featuring March Madness tournament games all in one place. It's March, it's madness, stream it all on Prime Video, essentially. So what does this mean for Ohio State? Well, the obvious is it means that Jeremiah Smith is, again, as advertised. #1 player in the class of 2024, not wide receiver, #1 player overall in the entire class of 2024. That's a big deal. He's 6'3", 215, and the pace at which he got this black stripe removed is what should really gain everyone's attention, because he is the quickest player to have their black stripe removed in the short history of the black stripe. Like 4 practices in. For context, that is faster than Marvin Harrison Jr. That is faster than anybody else in the entire – I was going to go and start naming names, but obviously if he's the fastest, period. So what it means is he is going to be a factor for you in 2024. And the crucial part I want to get in here, talking about what it means to lose your black stripe, as we just did a second ago, it's not just about making plays on the field. Like, that was never really the question mark with Jeremiah Smith in Columbus, whether it was this year, whether it was his junior year. The ability is eventually going to translate to the field. But losing your black stripe isn't just about the ability. Losing your black stripe is about what I just said a second ago, acting as a college athlete as the staff expects you to act. And so what that means is when you're already acting as a professional at the collegiate ranks, that just opens the door for you to have your ability show up how it's supposed to show up. Brian Hartline, the receivers coach at Ohio State, I thought had a quote that was really telling. He said, "I love the way that he lives," referring to Jeremiah Smith. Let me say this, that's a hard thing to do as a freshman, especially when you are the #1 player in your class, when you are being told you're the next great one at Ohio State, to live the right way when you get to Columbus. Sometimes that takes a while for true freshmen to get acclimated wherever you end up going, whether you're the top player in your class or not. Like, there's obviously a bit of a shock factor when you get to college. And Jeremiah Smith, for the record now, he isn't going to school just down the road. He's going to school in a completely new area of the country. Jeremiah Smith is from Florida. He's gone now to Columbus, Ohio. That's a big acclimation period for him. So saying, I love the way he lives, talking about him asking the right questions, talking about the way he fixes mistakes. The return on investment here for Jeremiah Smith from the time he's put in so far sounds like it's been tremendous. And going back to what I was saying a second ago, too, he's going to be a high-impact guy for you in 2024. I think we need to have a conversation about this. It would not surprise me in the slightest if Jeremiah Smith is wide receiver 1 by the end of the year at Ohio State. Now, Emeka Egbuka's on that roster. I don't think you're going to see him have some sort of drop-off at all. I think he's going to be a dude for you as well. So best case, Jeremiah Smith, if he's wide receiver 1, you got a bunch of other options. And then the worst case, the floor in my mind, is Jeremiah Smith being a very real weapon for you in this offense, even if he's not wide receiver 1, in addition to everything else that you have on this offense. Because if you got Jeremiah Smith you have to worry about any given play, you got Emeka Egbuka you got to worry about any given play, that backfield I think you can make an argument for being one of the best, if not the best in the entire country, with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. Like, they got some dudes now. And so the key thing I'm looking at here when you talk about Jeremiah Smith being a high-impact guy right away, the defenses that play the Buckeyes, they're going to have some very real decisions they have to make. Because you can't just key on the pass game, because if you do that, you got a stable of backs back there. On top of Will Howard being a guy that can hurt you with his legs, you're going to get gashed in the run game. And then if you try and stack the box, you leave your secondary on islands with guys like Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith. Now we're expecting to be a force. Like, that's a whole other area of problems you don't really want to wade too deeply into. And so if that's the way that defenses are trying to figure out how to game plan against Ohio State, and they don't really have an answer for every single part of this offense and every single weapon they have, Ohio State's offense is going to be elite once again. And last year, scored over 30 points a game. It's pretty solid, right? It's good. It's nowhere near the expectation for what they have come to see from their offense out there in Columbus. I think they'll probably score in the range of 40 a game. I've been on record saying that. Jeremiah Smith losing his black stripe and looking like he's going to be an absolute savage for them game 1 and going forward now as a true freshman only makes me feel more confident in that. Jeremiah Smith is going to be a dude. All right, this hype train is only going to continue to grow, but seeing things like this happen at spring practice with only 4 practices under his belt, y'all, that's massive. I just got to say this too. 4 practices is not a long time. Think about what you get done during a spring practice. For those that don't know, those first couple of practices aren't really like super high intensity, high competitive periods. Like, of course you're competing, and of course you're probably running some one-on-ones, and you're doing things that obviously are football activities, but like, pads haven't even really come on just yet with those 4 practices. You still have acclimation periods where you're out there with just a helmet on. So for it to take 4 practices for him to lose his black stripe and to get the recognition from the staff and from the rest of his teammates too that, hey, this is a dude now. Very good signing, Columbus. Again, I would not be surprised in the slightest if he's your wide receiver 1 at the end of the year for Ohio State. So any way you slice it, arrows pointing up for the Ohio State offense. Jeremiah Smith, certifiably a dude. That hype train continuing to gain steam. Make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Gonna keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.